Her story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil right.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Riff Worship, a love letter to heavy music and the riff. Unfortunately, the riff never answers back, but we keep on anyway. I'm joined by my best friends, Austin and Dylan, and special guest, Matt Graham. Fuck you, Austin and Dylan. Matt, how are you?
I just got off of work and everything is going great. The whole place isn't burning down. None of those things are happening.
Don't look outside. Whatever you do, don't look outside right now. Stay with us.
Austin and Dylan, how are y'all?
Dylan?
I was waiting on you. You got hair this week.
Yeah, who'd have thought? I got that good hair. Look at me. I look like, I always think I try to grow it out and think I'm going to look like some like heartthrob from the 90s, but then I end up looking like Ernie from Billy Madison. His little buddy.
You kind of got the mummy hair going on right now. So
Yeah, that's right.
Oh shit.
Monkey
Kill
bone.
Dylan.
Yo, please do. Oh my god, that was great. I sorry I stole your thunder on that one. That was good. Man, it got all over me. Whoa. On an Adam Sandler kick, Lauren had never watched Waterboy, and I went, well, we're doing it. And she then sat with me for an hour and 40 minutes and heard me quote that entire movie. She's like, yeah, this hadn't affected your life at all, has it? The minute it got to...
How old are you, son? I'm 40 years old.
I'm 30 years old. Captain, say no, show no mercy. It got to the point where Mama asked Bobby about the gorilla.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, this has been an ongoing joke for 10, almost 15 years with Austin and I. They ever catch that gorilla escape from the zoo and punched you in the eye? The search continues. But other than that, it's been great. Now I gotta collect myself here. That one got me.
All right, so we are here to talk about riffs, and today we're talking about an album with 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, just a couple.
2 or 3 dozen.
We're talking about Alaska by Between the Buried and Me. Matt, I'll start with you. How did you start to listen to Between the Buried and Me, or how did you get into this album?
2 things. Once was, I think, around the time Colors came out in high school. Nate, the Nate you all know that I went to high school with, he showed me Protest the Hero and Between the Buried and Me, and so that's where I really got heavy into that sort of prog metal, starting from Colors and then going back. I know that Dave's band at the time was covering the Cut a Flip song off of the first record, which was great to see at Cafe Vioni. I think you played that show, actually.
Probably. 16. Austin, do you have much experience with Between the Buried and Me?
Not a lick of it. Actually, I will say, I think I was like friends with a lot of people in high school who maybe at the time there was a lot of this like, prog.
Say it.
Like, I had friends who were like really into like Animals as Leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think there was some crossover there. I think there were definitely people who were into this band, but I'd never listened to this record until now. So
sure,
here we are, which is weird because I don't think, obviously this doesn't sound at all like that band. And I now having listened to this, it's funny. I can see where the three of you all have like connections, maybe specifically this record. There's like the mathy shit that Swindle likes. There's the more like Dream Theater kind of proggy parts that I could see Matt definitely getting into. And then there's like all of the more like extreme death metal, black metal stuff that Dylan would definitely like connect with. And it's just all smushed together because, you know, I know like Swindle, like I doubt listens to fucking Dream Theater, but there's like, it's just funny how all of that comes together and you're like, yeah, I really like this record. I love this record. I'm like, oh, okay.
You hit a really good point there too, because you mentioned animals as leaders and how do these bands don't really sound similar. And you look at this band's later output and there are more similarities maybe amongst that and what this band was to become. Because the band's later output is definitely more rooted in that progressive side, right? More so than maybe their early upbringings, which we'll dig into today. But you're right, it does. This album in particular hits every check on all of us collected here today, like what we would listen to.
And more.
and more, definitely so. This was the record that got me into him. This record came out when I was like fucking 15. I had a friend that I was playing in a band with named Frank. Frank was a big fan of this band. He had a car, so we rode together a lot back and forth. We lived like 20, 30 minutes away from each other. And he would just play it constantly. He was one of those guys that would find that one band and just wear them the fuck out. And he would play it, and I was just like, dude, you gotta fucking stop. Like, I'm not gonna get into this. I have to listen to this on my own. I don't do well when someone's just like forcing shit on me. I think we're all that way. But finally I said, fuck it, I'm gonna listen to this album. So he let me borrow it. Like, took it home, listened to it. Like, okay, there's some cool stuff on here. And then the hits, Selkies. And I go, okay, I need to dig a little bit more deeper and different things. And I went back to Silent Circus and the self-titled record, and those are really fun and aggressive and everything on it. First time I saw the band was on the first tour for Colors in 2007, around October. It was at a venue in Arkansas called Juanita's Cantina, like a 350 cap room, maybe less. The band, I actually pulled it up here. The band was on tour with The End, which was like this weird kind of, Swindle, are you familiar with them?
Mm-hmm.
Like this weird,
I had one of their CDs.
Was it the one with like the weird house or the cube on it or something like
Possibly.
They were a relapse band, a little weird, little post-metal-y, interesting. Animosity was on there, which is fucking batshit. And then Horse the Band was direct support, which anyway, they're a band. And they played Colors in full. Like, small venue, played Colors in full. The 200 people that were there wanted an encore. They came back in begrudgingly. You could tell they did not want to do it. And they played Selkies, The Endless Obsession. So, yes, that was my long-winded introduction to this band.
For me, I was in a band in high school with a couple of really two fucking nerds that really were into mathy music. And then our friend Wyatt was also in the band. And I hadn't really gotten into like underground metal or really largely underground music to that point. So after Alaska had come out, I bought fucking the Silent Circus, and I think at the same time I bought Leviathan, and may have also been when I bought the fucking comp of all the agoraphobic Nosebleed songs. So I was just like, I'm getting into this all this wild shit. But I listened to the Silent Circus, and like from the first fucking song on the Silent Circus, I was like, it was like the first crazy band I ever listened to. And I was just like, I don't know what the fuck is coming next. Like, I don't know what's going to happen after, like, one part plays, and I was like, what could possibly happen after this part? And then like the whole album's like that. And then all of Between Them Buried in Me's discography is like that. So I think it being kind of the first band that was like not verse, chorus, verse, sure. I was just like, this is my favorite thing now.
Where's the fucking one? Yeah, you know, this band does that. for sure.
Yeah.
You know, especially, you know, coming from maybe some of the more straightforward backgrounds that we're very prone to come from, because this was a time when metalcore was at its biggest, and you know, you had classic bands that we were all into and are all still into. I mean, you know, you look at a band, some of the bands that we grew up listening to, and imagine getting turned on like Swindle did to underground music by something as obtuse sounding as this, with time signature changes and blendings of different styles, and you fucking name it. It's 15 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Like it's one of the, it's just fucking great. And the early years of this band are so fun to me, because it's like, God, where are they going? What's coming next? And to know that you bought those 3 fucking CDs at the same time is just like kind of overstimulation at its finest.
The agoraphobic nosebleed thing by itself it's literally 90 minutes of the wildest digi-grind that you could ever fucking think of. That almost turned me off to aggressive music. I was like, no, I don't think I like this shit.
Imagine listening to that and going, I have to put on Leviathan to relax. Right? Because like,
right.
You know, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil kind of thing. Like Leviathan is the least like insane out of those 3. And it, even in its own right, is a fucking nutso record. God, what a trip. Yeah, you did the shit I used to do where you're like, this has a good logo and it looks fucking crazy and they're wearing a shirt I like. Fuck it, I'm buying it.
I bought it, now I got to sit with it. Shit.
Yeah, right.
Here we are.
All right, so we'll start this journey of Between the Buried and Me. We start with 3 bands, really largely 2. Paul, Tommy, and a man named Will Goodyear started in a band named Prayer for Cleansing. There was a separate band named Azazel that featured Nick Fletcher and Jason King. Tommy was also in a third project called From Here On, but he was the only member of Between the Buried and Me that would be in that band, but they were like kind of metalcore adjacent also, so it's worth mentioning. But all those bands or projects would break up, and especially the guys in Prayer for Cleansing they felt like they were kind of confined to a label, to like a specific genre, a specific kind of metalcore in the Prayer for Cleansing like project. But when that group broke up, they were like, shit, we can go wild, we can do whatever we want to do, we can like go off and do our own thing. Now that we're gonna like start another band, and they got in touch with these people in Azazel to play rhythm guitar and bass in Between the Buried and Me, which Between the Buried and Me would get their name from Counting Crows song. Lyrics from a Counting Crows song.
So funny. Long December.
Something.
That's
Courtney
the only
Cox.
one I knew. I would see that commercial that would come on at like 3 a.m, like, you know, in the early 2000s.
Buzz hits.
Like Buzz hits.
Buzz ballads.
Come
Yeah.
on, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. I have 2 playlists in my Apple Music that is Buzz ballads and Buzz hits. And anytime we're on a trip with Lauren and I, those things are on. And it's just fucking fun shit. But yeah, anytime I hear Counting Crows, I'm like, this helped form. The Shrek 2 band helped form a like technical prog band.
And definitely an aside, but since we're talking about Dylan's Buzz ballads and Buzz hits playlists, he personally created those playlists, but when he listens to them, he still skips the songs that he doesn't like, even though he created the playlist.
It's got to be time accurate. It's got to be period accurate.
It is literally the playlist of the CD track list.
Right.
Of those columns.
But you're still skipping the songs you hate. Why don't you put them on there?
Oh no, I leave them on. It's part of it. It's got to fit the bill. It's kind of like It's kind of like if you get 45 minutes into a really shitty movie, you're like, well, made it this far.
Yeah. It's like he's got to remember when he's like, it's a nostalgic thing. He's got to remember when he skipped over Fuel when it originally came out.
It doesn't matter that Everlast is on both of them for some reason. It's like, hey, we have these two comps. Same song.
Anyway. They went with that name because they kind of like the ambiguity of it. It could mean multiple things. They also liked that it was longer than most band names, which is fair enough. It is. It certainly is. And it was different than lots of other band names. It just stood out. Shortly after they started the band in 2001, they would record and self-release a demo with 3 songs. They were not signed to any label at this point. Their release process is something I'm intimately familiar with playing music, and that is self-releasing, going to Kinko's and printing out a slip and putting it in a plastic container and then just throwing your CDR in there. Something I know very well.
I got one of Matt Graham sent me one of those 16 CDRs. I think I got it somewhere buried in here.
Actually, all 3 of those songs would go on to be in the self-titled release, their first album. But speaking of that, in between the demo and the first record, they would get signed to a record label in Germany named Life Force Records. And I don't really know how they got in touch with Life Force Records, but essentially they just couldn't get signed by anyone in America, which makes sense. They'd only put out 3 songs ever, and they released it themselves. So there probably weren't people shopping around at that point.
Sure. Especially being from like the Carolinas, like this band is.
Right. Yeah. Like who else in the early 2000s is from North Carolina?
Right. Like they're not in a hub. They're not like from the Boston Mass scene or New York or California or even Florida. Like they're from the Carolinas, which is it's not really known for this style of music. It's known for another subgenre of music we're all fans of, which is kind of the NOLA sludge adjacent stuff. And being able to reach some sort of label. I mean, it looks like Life Force has done a lot of work with a lot of bands kind of at their beginnings, from what I've noticed. First Trivium record was done on Life Force. All That Remains, Disembodied, Caliban, Heaven Shall Burn. These are all like pretty hyper aggressive metalcore adjacent bands, and Heaven Shall Burn and Caliban, I believe, are German bands. So who knows how that demo got in the hands of that group of people?
Shortly after the first record, the self-titled, Will Goodyear, the original drummer, would leave the band. And like any of the people that leave the band in the early era, it's not like really, there's not reasons given, but it seems like all the people in the band are like still good friends with all these folks. There's an interview with like Paul where I think he says like he's still really good friends with Will, and he like texts him every now and then, and he like big ups whatever project Will is like still in. So I guess it's like good terms, pretty friendly terms. But something else to note about this first record is it is mastered by Alan Douches.
Yes. The great Alan Douches.
The 5th member of the podcast.
That's right. In our hearts. Mastered by Alan Douches. And I guess it should also be important to mention Jamie King, who like has had a hand in all of their records in one way or another. Maybe it seemed like if he's not producing it, he's at least mixing it or recording it.
This album, he's in it. He's playing bass on the record too.
There you go.
There's some great footage of this band recording different albums throughout the years, and they're at Jamie's studio. And matter of fact, it might have even been the Color sessions. Jamie's studio's just a basement. Like it's the Basement Studios. It is literally just a basement. It's not some kitschy name. It's his house somewhere in the Carolinas, and there were points in that episode where they're just like, they're kind of walking through, they're doing the typical thing, right? Like, oh, here's our cooler, here's all this. And it's literally just bottles of Cheerwine and Sundrop because they're local to the Carolinas. Like they're sodas from there. And I just remember them going, yeah, it's got real sugar in it. None of that high fructose corn syrup. And that's it. It's a clip. And it just shows somebody tracking after that. It's like, oh, here's this. Now let's watch Dan Briggs track this like freak out part on Colors.
I think Jamie had 2 different basement studios, but they said that one of them was like basically a crawl space basement. Like it was not a finished basement. It was like a hole in the ground, like like a tornado shelter.
We're like recording this like Saddam Hussein's hideout space.
Laying down like this. Well, another important thing coming off the back of the self-titled is they would actually get signed to Victory Records, which they probably are both happy and sad about at different points in their career.
That seems to be commonplace with any band signed to that label at any point in any given fucking time. It's kind of like herpes. You just can't get rid of it.
Victory Records is just like herpes. You heard it here first, folks.
Like there are bands now that were signed to Victory at like their largest, right? And they're still like, God, that guy fucked us every step of the way. And I mean, bands that are like, we can't get our masters back, nothing. Like I'm not going to get into the ugly side of it, but there will be many bands we talk about that will have been on Victory Records for sure.
When they get on Victory, they are going to release records, and Victory also re-releases the self-titled, the first record. But their first release on Victory Records is going to be the Silent Circus, which is the first release I've ever heard of by Between the Buried and Me, my personal favorite. They recruited Mark Castillo on drums.
Wow.
Just for this one record.
I know he's in a couple bands, Bury Your Dead. Go on to do like Crossfade and Muir. He's in that. He was like briefly, I don't know if it was just like a tour or what. He was in the
Acacia Strain.
Yes, he was briefly in that band.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
That would make sense because like he's more known for being in Bury Your Dead than this band for sure.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild because it's like it was probably one of those situations of we need a drummer to record. We need somebody. He's our buddy. We've done shows with him. We've done tours with him. Let's get him on the record kind of thing.
Matt, how do you feel about these records? Do you like have any sort of, do you like one or over the other? Like as far as like the early days?
I think Alaska is probably the one that I like listening to front to back the most. I do like some of the songs on the Silent Circus a lot. But if I'm gonna sit and just listen to one all the way through, it's usually Colors or Alaska or The Great Misdirect. I know the first album gets a lot of heat. Like just some people don't like it, but I still love that one too. It has some really good songs on there.
We didn't really, there's this like interview that Swindle had linked from like maybe like a couple weeks ago that Paul did where it's like, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just wanted to be, I don't know what we wanted. There were some really cool riffs. It was an early step in our self-discovery. So they're definitely like, it seems like they're feeling around for it.
And the Silent Circus is great. It's a fun fucking record. You've got the video for Mordecai, which is a fever dream to watch. It all looks like just cut and paste shit. There's a couple tracks. There's, I guess the one track on that record that doesn't really cut it for me is there's the singing track on that one. And it's just a little iffy for me, but like that's such a small fucking gripe. It just shows how experimental this band could be and do things. Like I think the more kind of meat and potato stuff that this band has on those first 3 records, where it's like still very rooted in where they came from, the more extreme side of hardcore, the early influences with like groove and death metal and all that is so much more entertaining to me than what came post Colors. But I also understand bands, as we've discussed on here, kind of hit you at different points of where you found them first, right? It's really hard, because I've mentioned this, it's really hard to hear Cannibal Corpse's Kill and go, yeah, the first Death record, it's top notch for me because I have to go back and understand that a little bit more, especially when I've heard something like you can't put more stuff back in the bottle, basically. Like once the bottle starts to have stuff come out of it, it's there. But I think these first two records are fucking great. I haven't listened to the self-titled in quite some time.
How do they match up production wise? Because I know this record is the only one. This one was done by Matthew Ellard, and he did all of the like production, mixing, engineering. So it's like the only one that like Jamie doesn't have some sort of like hands on. So how does that record match up with? I know Jamie did do the reissue apparently. They remixed the reissue, but how does this like match up between some of the other stuff that Jamie's done?
You know, his production's really dry. It seems like it's very straightforward. There's not a ton of experimentation going on with any of those records. It's like, hey, here's bass, drums, a little bit of synth, vocals are here and there. And it's very straightforward. You can hear everything that's going on. I have both an older vinyl pressing of Alaska and the remaster because I do like to hear a remaster. I want to know what it's going to sound like sonically, that kind of thing. And Matt said it. I think the original mix sounds more pronounced on vinyl for sure. But the new mix sounds better digitally for sure. It's almost like it was mixed for that type of digestion. But either way, the record sounds great. The first two, obviously having different players on it, is much more guitar forward on those first records. I think once we get into this, you'll realize that the rhythm section being new on this album changes up the feel of the band so much. You know, it's still chaotic and crazy and all of this stuff, but there's a different groove and a feel and like a metronome to this band now. And you really get some great stuff with the rhythm section on this record that maybe the production wasn't leading to on those first two records.
Wasn't the main thing of the like remix remaster to not have that shit be on Victory Records? Wasn't that kind of like the main point of putting out those records again?
So I wish that was the case. Craft Recordings, which is what they're released through, is Victory Records.
Oh, okay.
Victory Records was sold a handful of years ago. And Craft Recordings is very similar to what Roadrunner has a subsidiary called like Run Out of Groove that does these really nice pressings. And it's very much like that. They will release very limited number pressings of whatever records, and it's still Victory Records. It's just owned by it's probably like Sony or something at this point. I wish that were the case because these guys deserve any money that they get for those fucking records.
Other than the record being produced by Matthew Ellard, kind of the big talking point of the Silent Circus is after that record is released, that like essentially 3/5 of the band would leave. Mark on drums for this record, he's gone after this record is recorded, or maybe like just in between this record and Alaska. Jason King, the bassist, would leave the band also, and Nick Fletcher, the rhythm guitarist, would leave. And that also, they didn't really say in like the writing of the Silent Circus, but for like the self-titled, the guys were saying that like essentially all the songs used to be written between Paul, Tommy, and the original drummer. So when the original drummer left, they didn't really say like who was part of writing the songs in the band, but since everyone leaves the band, essentially like the writing style has got to change pretty aggressively. but to replace all those folks, we get Dan Briggs on bass. He just kind of said that all the bands that he was in before were local bands. He was from Erie, Pennsylvania. He had met the band as they were on tour, and he got their first demo CD, and they were essentially like his favorite metal band like in existence. And I guess they like hit him up to play bass for the band, and he moved down from Erie, Pennsylvania to North Carolina to be the bassist of Between the Barrier and Me.
I may be wrong, but I I think he's a Berkeley educated guy.
Oh, I mean,
Damn.
I
I
think
wouldn't
he's a
doubt
Berkeley
it.
School of Music guy. He's like, because the minute you hear him, you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot more
Yeah.
going on here than like metalcore roots or anything like that, for sure.
And he was like, he said something. I thought that was it was like wild. He like booked a show for them when he was like 16 years old in their like,
Right.
I was like, damn, this is like, but yeah, to uproot your entire life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just a few years later, he couldn't have been
Right.
You know, what, he's 19, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. I guess the guy loved him some DIY hardcore. So
Yeah.
he was into it, I guess.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is wild to think that this shit was played in VFW halls, because it fucking was.
Right.
Like, all right, here's Chevin, I'll cut a flip, and now we're gonna do Robo Turner. Here's Croquis and Boat Shoes fits in a VFW hall completely, but like hearing like Robo Turner and Autodidact and all these tracks, like, yep, this is in a VFW hall to all 40 of these fucking people. It's fucking nuts to think about.
Are they one of the bands that played Night Class, or am I imagining that?
Oh man.
I don't know.
That would be worth looking into at some point. That would be wild. You might be right though. I know Hatebreed played an old Night Class
Really?
Yeah.
years
Yeah,
and
yeah.
years and years ago.
Like the 90s, they played Bowling
Yeah.
Green.
Damn. So much history.
In addition to Dan from Erie, Pennsylvania, they got Dustie Waring to play rhythm guitar and Blake Richardson, both from, he played drums. Both of those folks were from Glass Casket, which was also a North Carolina band, right?
Yeah, like very proto deathcore band, really heavy fucking band. The vocalist of that band went on to be in another North Carolina band called Wretched, that is like thrash death, and they're putting a new record out and everything. But yeah, that band, if for those who haven't listened to it, it's really hyper aggressive shit, which would make sense on this record that we're talking about today, but it definitely seems like the three new guys didn't have a ton of input on the new record or the current record, right? It does seem like, hey, the songs are really written. They're just here to play the parts.
One thing that like Dan noted a few times in a few interviews was that when all three of those folks joined the band, it kind of was like there was maybe not a lot of butting heads, but a lot of tensions rising up because he said that like for the bands that he was in, he was largely the person that had written the music for like Glass Casket shit. Like Blake and Dusty had written a lot of the shit for that band, and like Paul and Tommy were the people that wrote all the stuff for Between the Barry and Me. So like there are essentially 5 people in this band that had written all the music for all the bands that they had ever been in before. So like finding ways to work with each other and like not stomp on each other, I guess, was something that they were going to have to get used to, and pretty quickly, because I think like Dan joined the band 5 months before this fucking album was recorded or something.
Have fun, nerd.
Another great thing about this is apparently they wrote this entire album at full volume in Blake's parents' basement. Blake's dad had built him a drum riser and in the basement, and they just pointed all the amps at the drum riser and wrote this full fucking album in the basement of Blake's parents' house. And Matt actually sent a picture of a Colors stream from 2020 during shutdown that was in Blake's parents' basement again, right?
Yeah, I think that's around when they had the remaster come out for that album.
That would make
Yeah.
I know
sense.
that-
Yep.
I think they played it like twice on Twitch, and you could buy tickets.
So Blake's parents must be either really nice or they just hate Blake's parents.
Hard of hearing.
I mean, it's a family affair though, because I think didn't Blake's brother also do like the artwork as well?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
yeah. So maybe one or a few people supportive of
That is
Blake's endeavors.
Yep. I think Blake must just have a really supportive fucking family, because like, who says, yeah, my dad built me a drum riser?
Yeah, right.
Like my dad didn't even build a relationship with me. So like having their dad build like a drum riser for you, like fuck yeah.
Can you? I know, like my dad. I am not in, have not been in the craziest bands in the world, but even my dad was just like, you couldn't just play in a regular band, huh? Can you imagine like being the drummer of like a death metal band like Glass Casket, and then being the drummer of like the craziest tech metalcore band like of all time? What our dads would have been like.
Oh man, when my dad like heard me say the phrase death metal for the first time, my dad was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? What is that? Like, we need to get you some help. What's going on?" I remember he dropped me off. Like my mom had to meet him one time to like drop me off, and he's like, "Bonnie, you got to figure out what's going on with this death metal shit." As he's like laying the fucking riot act, and Bonnie's just like, "God, just lay off, like get over it," and just giving me the fucking riot act about it, and yeah. Dads are dads. Check out the bit in the last episode.
Be more like Blake's dad.
Right, yeah, please. For Alaska, they did bring back friend Jamie King, though. But it also was co-produced by Matthew Ellard again. So that's an interesting thing to note, is they had both of them working together.
Yeah, it seemed like Jamie recorded it because he's the local guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, Matthew Ellard was like maybe the more mixing and production. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tight.
But mastered by the fifth Beatle.
The
master. the master. You know, it has to be really great. We've done a few bands that have made the decision to like record locally where they live or close to where they live. It's got to be really fucking great to not only spend like a budget of whatever was given to them by, you know, Victory Records, or paying out of pocket to like go stay in a hotel at this point, or like have to lodge on somebody's floor, but being able to like go to your own bed after the end of a recording day, like stressed to the fucking max, and like, oh, I live a mile away. I can just go home. Oh, I don't have to use this gross toilet. I can go home and come back.
I can use my own gross toilet.
Yeah, I can use my own gross toilet. There's all the restaurants I like. We're all vegans and vegetarians in this band. Like, I know the spots. I don't have to find any. Like, awesome. So, like, recording that close to home, and especially with somebody they've worked with since essentially day one, it's like, hey, it's like going over to see your crazy uncle. It's like, hey, Uncle Ted's at it again. He's out in the front yard, like, setting up all the aluminum foil again. I just go with it. Just fucking go with it. I don't. This shit just comes off the top of what's left in here.
Much like this record, I was just waiting to see where it landed.
It landed with a splat.
So anyway, let's get into this record. What do y'all have to talk about? There's a couple things happen in this record.
And that's just one fucking song.
Matt, what was this record like throwing it on for the first time? What were your thoughts, or maybe even now, like going back?
I feel like I might be the only one here who likes all the switching back and forth between light and heavy, and I enjoyed the last song. I'll talk about that when we get there. I am a nerd and I have attention issues, so this is just my cup of tea. I put this on. There's so much going on. I get to listen to 3 different things at once. I'm having a great time. I put this on and do homework.
I will say though, I don't think it's as the first song is bonkers. That's like really.
Oh yeah.
It's. I don't think it's. They switch back as aggressively as it does in fucking All Bodies. I think that's like the most extreme version of that. Everything else, yes, it does. Like it'll switch back and forth between like all these different styles of music. There's the mathy part in the intro of that song that like I could definitely see Swindle leaning more towards. But then there's like, I think you said in the chat, like power metal choruses and like fucking like a symphonic black metal section of that song, or like Black Dahlia Murder fucking death metal parts. Like it just steamrolls through all of these different styles within the first 6 minutes of this record.
It's one of those tracks you could give to somebody and say, hey, what's a good, not necessarily what's a descriptor of this band's sound now, but what's a descriptor of like what all the sums of the whole were of this band. It's like, oh, here's all bodies. Listen to this. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned it. You have all of those parts, and like, especially from like the musical end of me, like there's walking bass lines over death metal riffs. Walking bass lines all over this album over death metal riffs, which is not easy to fucking do. And having the guts to do something like that. And
the fucking in all bodies, that like bass walk up going into, I think it's the second chorus.
Yep.
The last time the chorus goes, there's like a crazy walk up into that fucking second chorus on the bass. It's wild.
I mean, it does. This first track is a great blending of what you're going to hear on this record too. But I agree with Austin. I think this is the most extreme version of that on this record. You still have a lot of the different blendings of styles, and even in some of the later tracks, like you look at like the Primer or Backward Marathon in particular, and Robo Turner, like those three tracks have a lot of these changing parts. I mean, Swindle mentioned power metal in the track. Like I heard like power metal stuff in like the Primer, like the opening of the Primer, where it's like kind of like blackened power metal, like Children of Bodom or like Winter Sun or fucking Cradle of Filth in some of these black metal parts.
The motherfuckers were definitely wearing like chainmail, and corpse paint for that one. That's one of my favorite songs, honestly. I really like that track.
But you go from that and then you get to like pure kind of melodic progressive rock stuff in Backward Marathon. That whole center 4-minute section is just a melodic tasting of Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd for sure.
There's some David Gilmour-esque solos for sure.
And you hear that and it all fits so well. You've got all these crazy transitions on this record and all of this shit that goes on and just hits you like a steamroller, but it does make sense. I don't feel like anything's too excessive. In the excesses that happen on this record, it's not too wild. At least for my taste, it's not too wild. I think the most straightforward song on the whole fucking record's Alaska itself. Like listening to that, I went, this track's not that fucking bonkers that I remember it. Like there's some, don't get me wrong, there's like proggy shit happening in there, but
the open.
Yeah, for sure. That's Dream Theater 101. That is Dream Theater 101. Like the synths, the way the riffs are kind of metered in there. There's pseudo breakdowns on it. Fuzzy bass from Dan towards the end of it to kind of like break it up a bit.
That breakdown was fucking. The first time I ever heard that breakdown to the song at the end, I like lost my fucking shit when they did the like 2 snare hits and the like bark part.
Yeah, the Jamie Josta bit.
I was fucking done and then just the like up and down a half step on the bass fuzzed out. That was crazy.
Austin hit it really well too. Like I've got notes in my queue here that kind of talks about how there are very much some of those early metalcore roots in here with like the Black Dahlia Murder. I consider their first record, Unhollowed, to be pseudo metalcore because it's very much At the Gates, Carcass Worship. They were influenced by bands such as Undying, which a couple of these guys happened to be in for a period of time. Prayer for Cleansing as well. Like Trevor went on to say he was really into those early metalcore bands, and a lot of those early records were on here. But it's hard to. I look back on it now, and this album in particular is very much a proto-deathcore band. There are so many of those larger deathcore bands that came 2-3 years later that were listening to this. I would say this, like the Red Chord, Despised Icon, Dead to Fall, Bleeding Through, all of those bands like that were leaning on the more aggressive side of metalcore definitely helped influence what was to come. And then you look at a track like fucking Crokies and Boat Shoes, which could arguably be the most aggressive track on the record, being as short as it is. Like, I mean, fuck, there's death grind stuff going in there. I think my opening notes just said "eat shit, jock dicks." Like that.
I think that or Robo Turner.
Yeah,
is like hella aggressive in the beginning of that song, but Matt, what parts stick out to you the most, you think? When you think of this record, like, obviously there's a lot going on, but what are your, like, big takeaways? Is it more of, like, the proggy stuff, like, that you lean more towards, or is it just, like, the fucking wild intensity of this shit?
It's more of how they can just go from having like Paul Gilbert riffs into Dream Theater riffs into synth sections, and then go straight back into just being a metal band banging on a trash can or something.
The fucking I mean, just like the fourth track on the record, like Selkies the boys just wanted to fucking like
shred
jam. Like, there's so many parts on this thing where I'm like, oh, they're just bringing it way down, setting the mood.
That track is, it's essentially 2 tracks.
Yeah.
It's that first 3 or 4 minutes and that back 3 to 4 minutes, right? And the first half is this great, catchy, odd metered. What's it in 6 Swindle? Or is it 9?
That whole, do you mean like the
whole intro sequence,
Dream Theater type Tool part?
It's like 2 different time signatures, and they alternate between them.
But
I like that part because it would go from like the kind of like the Tool rhythm, and then it would like throw in this like weird fucking like almost like rock like flourishes. They almost kind of reminded me like Edgar Winter, like just the way the groove of that was.
I think it's 7 and then
you
6.
may be right. Actually, I think you're right. But the Edgar Winter part that Austin's mentioning made me think of a Dream Theater part, obviously. And Matt can probably attest to this. There's a Dream Theater song that came out maybe 2 years later called Dark Eternal Night that kind of phrase makes me think of, where they're all kind of locked in, and it's this low kind of octave playing that they're doing on there. But that track alone has everything in it. The vocal syncopation at the beginning of that, when he first kicks in and does the creepy kind of vocal, and it kicks in with the different drum hits, is really cool, and might be my favorite vocal thing he does on the record.
Really? There's a
I'm
lot.
a fan of like pig squeals and stuff. So like that's always fun.
I thought that was the best part, because it's like all of you, again, just knowing some of the tastes that you guys listen to, where it is like more of like the cleaner sung kind of, proggy vocals, I guess. And then there's like the black metal. I think, what is really great about him is that he is able to like shift along with the style too. It's not just one thing. So it's like, hey, I'm going to sing this clean part, or like I have these almost like Bear and Snake kind of layered vocals that are going on, or the black metal stuff. But it's like to know that Swindle really enjoys an album with like pig squeal vocals on it too makes me crack up a little bit.
I mean, what I didn't realize is that there were pig squeals mixed in Roboturner. In the many years I've heard this record, I didn't hear that. But of course, being able to hear everything at one given time on this record is pretty impossible. It takes multiple listens. It's not an easy listen, but it's easier than some of the other records we've definitely picked in the past, for sure, because everything on here is still catchy. It's viable. I mean, it's got Necrophagus style, like guitar riffs all over it. Like for sure, like early 2000s tech death is all over this. I would be really bummed if I didn't mention this, and I think Austin might get the same thing. Matt mentioned Paul Gilbert. The sweeps in Selkies are iconic, and they are Yngwie Malmsteen top to bottom.
Yeah,
motherfucker did not like donuts.
There's definitely some neoclassical type leaning stuff on this record too.
A few weeks ago we had we did the episode of Unearth where we talked about breakdowns. I think for me, Between the Buried and Me is about as good as a band can get at making breakdowns, because they're all super fucking creative, and they're all like stand the fuck out. They like, when Between the Buried and Me has a breakdown, you are gonna fucking know it. And they also not like a lot of, I think metalcore and deathcore like breakdowns became the joke because bands started to shoehorn them to every song, or like every song, everything is a breakdown, or like it just became way overused. And there's not a breakdown in every fucking song on this album, but when there is a breakdown, it's fucking great. Like the breakdown that is at the end of Autodidact is
end of the album.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Does he, I'm assuming Paul uses like a 7-string, or maybe they're huge,
tuned to C
massive,
sharp.
They're just,
I think,
those chords are just so big. They like sustain and just, like you said, it's massive sounding. There's a couple tracks like that, but Autodidact is
probably a little bit of like some layered tritones going on there for sure in that one. But Swindle, you hit a good point. You know, we mentioned the Unearthed episode that we did, and I think it's because the breakdown is utilized to help enhance the song, as opposed to the song is just written around a fucking breakdown. Whereas like Unearthed does that very seamlessly. This band during this period of time does it very seamlessly. It's still tying it to its metalcore roots and hardcore roots that they came up through, but the breakdowns are creative. You know, some of them are borderline slam-like, like Suffocation style breakdowns that are going on with these chromatic kind of, riffs and grooves with these pinch harmonics and everything, all the fun shit about metal that we like. And, having a band to utilize a breakdown in the right way and not just overdo it, because we've all heard those bands and those bands still exist. And we know, like, you might listen to them one time and go like, I get it. And then you listen to them a second time and you're like, this is a Happy Meal. This is just McDonald's. It's just trash in my hand down my throat kind of thing. But I agree. This band does it well. And they did it well on the records beforehand too. Like, they still had those elements and they weren't overused. The band knows how to write in the way that they write. For sure. And this record, I think, is kind of a master class of that.
We have 2 to 3 bass players on this call right now on this episode. Feelings on that. I mean, as a non-bass player, I hear a lot of things. Sometimes Dan is like locked in or playing like a counterpart to some of the melodic lead lines that are going on. I hear a lot of like straightforward aggressive metal playing, but then I hear like, some wild, like almost Les Claypool fucking Primus shit that goes on in certain parts. Whoever wants to start, Matt, Dylan, whoever, just what's your takeaway from Dan's bass playing on this record?
Fantastic player. Part of the reason I have 2.5 Spectre basses behind me. I started listening to Between the Buried and Me around the same time I started playing bass, so it was a big influence, a big reason why I was looking into other bands. I didn't only just get into them because of my friends in high school. This band was all over the Ultimate Guitar forums. People were talking about them all the time on there. It's a band for nerds.
Speaking of nerds.
Yeah. Speaking of nerds.
I was well down the bass playing kind of rabbit hole by the time I was introduced to this band. But knowing the record I started out with had the bassist they still currently have. He's a songwriter, fantastic musician, not just a bass player, but a fantastic musician. And he's audible in the mix. Swindle and I kind of grew up the same, where we probably had a really cheap portable CD player, and those things were very prone to not have great sound quality. It was just mid-range, straight to the ear. So a lot of the bass was buried because of how we were listening to it. So by the time,
because of the bands we were fucking listening to.
Yeah, true. And by the time you got a way to listen to these records with better sound quality, it's like, fuck, there it is. Finally, the way I knew this guy could play. And he's great. He's educated. He's also still got this like kind of punk rock way of how he plays. It's like, sounds good. We're sticking it in there. It's methodical. You hit the nail on the head, Austin. There's certain points that stand out. We mentioned the Alaska kind of fuzzed out thing. There's these weird double stop parts in Roboturner that are kind of used as a segue that I like. There is
is Roboturner is the part where also it's like just bass and drums playing as kind of like a transition, but then the bass part gets turned into the really big guitar riff.
Yes.
Like that fucking riff is crazy. The kind of like sliding.
Yes.
Riff.
Kind of at swings, the swinging riff.
Right. Yeah.
But then you look at a track like Backward Marathon, that whole 4-minute section, because it's 4 fucking minutes. I tallied it up. It's just he and Blake kind of holding it and doing this really moody. He's got reverb. He's got a little bit of delay. There's some modulation going on in his bass tone. And Matt hit it. You know, Dan was one of the early guys that I saw playing a Spectre other than like Alex Webster or something. And those basses are known to cut through the mix, no matter how big the guitars are. Rex Brown, another big Spectre guy, but like cuts through it. And Dan's playing helped shaped this band for eternity.
For Colors, they sold tab books.
Yep.
At shows.
I do want to highlight his playing before we jump out of this. Dan had another project called Trioscapes for a couple years. That is like a saxophone and a drummer, and it's jazz, but it's fucking nuts. Metal Blade put him out in the kind of mid 2000 teens, and like the bass is loud on these Between the Buried and Me mixes, but they're a little more subdued. It's just like wall of bass and sax and drums. It's wild shit. Very, very good musician. Highly influential. I know I got a chance to go to the first Colors DVD shoot. We drove up from Arkansas the night before, sat in front of the old Rocket Town and went to it. And there were a couple guys in line behind us. We were the first fucking people there. And
damn.
Right. Couple guys behind us that would not like let off. And they just kept talking about like, oh yeah, no bands have good bass players except this band. And just kept going on and on and on and on and on. And finally it was like, dude, I looked at the other guys I was with, like, we got to get the fuck away from these guys. Like, this is some fanboy shit on a different level. Like, god damn. Like, anyway, shows the power that this band has, and it shows the power that even turning believers that bass is a less than calibered instrument, and guys that have that opinion that it is, into believers that bass could be a fundamental instrument and be utilized for more than just holding the root notes and standing there with dead strings.
On the note of the rhythm section, Blake.
Oh,
so
fucking crazy.
Amazing.
So much fun shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's just so much endurance, like all the double bass play and just, with it going as like fast as it is at times. And switching on a dime, like his understanding of like,
yes, groove.
Yeah, it's
swing,
bonkers.
Everything. Just changing a section just by hitting a crash or a china, or adding another kick into the rhythm, or
like playing like one time through the riff playing on the beat, the next time through the riff playing the off beat, fucking just switching up the accents.
Stellar player, probably doesn't get the attention he deserves in this band because there's so much going on in this band. Fantastic get for these guys. And the fact that the lineup on this record is essentially what the lineup still is to this day.
It reminds me of Converge. When we started talking about Converge, we, like, in the early years of that band, they went through a lot of lineup changes, but like I think Kurt said, like, most people figure out the people they want to make music with. Most people go through all these changes. They just happen to not stay under the same band name. But like Converge went through all these changes, but they just happened to stay under the band name Converge. And Between the Buried and Me did the same thing.
Sure. Man, isn't there a little bit of a connection here?
Huh. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? That'd be real fucking interesting to think about, huh? Hits on a guttural level. I don't want to go back, but I missed something I really wanted to bring up about the track Robo-Turner. I mentioned like this band being from North Carolina. At the end of Robo-Turner, there's a sludge riff, and it's repeated 3 times, and it gets slower. and it comes back like there's a pause and it comes back again and it's just nastier and stinkier.
I think saying it gets repeated 3 times, they like...
Oh, they beat it into the ground.
But it comes back 3 times.
Yeah,
like
it comes
they're
back
like,
3 separate ways.
We're gonna play the riff 8 times, then it goes away, and then it comes back and we play it 4 more times. Then it goes away and then it comes back and we...
Isn't this the same song too where they do that and then like for no reason whatsoever just do like the crazy little like bass ditty at the end and then it just fucking ends?
Yep.
Like,
It's got the double stops again. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like, okay.
I do love at the last time they go through that really fucking slow riff, it's just like the dive bomb that sounds like a bomb is flying like from fucking the stratosphere getting dropped on your fucking head.
So much of that fun shit all over this record too, like weird guitar sounds coming in. Like my favorite is at the end of Autodidact, and it's Tommy's very layered low in the mix pterodactyl screeches that you hear. It's just like this gnarly inhale scream. I'm like, missed that. Like, don't know how I missed that. That's perfect. That's the type of annoying shit I like.
Before there's a part of Autodidact we were talking about drums and I wanted to bring it up. Before the big ass breakdown, there's a part of Autodidact where it's like the guitar, bass, and drums are all running together at the same time. Like kind of all 3 doing a solo. It's fucking crazy.
That's just wild. And like you can hear, yes, it's all running together and it sounds like they're all playing 3 separate parts.
Right,
and
yeah.
It's just like, fuck, this works. All right. And what are we doing right after this? Big breakdown. Boom. Right. Just go for it.
Maybe as we begin to like wrap up, Matt, how do you feel about the instrumental passages of this record? Do you, it kind of breaks it up a little bit. They're a little different. They vary depending on, which one you get to. But how do you feel about the instrumentals?
I mean, I love the nice little intermissions between some of the songs. You get some breathing room. Specifically at the very end, I don't know why Swindle hates laser speed. It's nice and relaxing to me. Like on Colors, they're always playing White Walls live. I think that's their usual closer, their encore song. But I want to hear Viridian before White Walls, or I'm just unhappy. So I'm usually listening to these albums all the way through. I can't pick out one song from the other half the time unless it has a really special riff going on in it. Otherwise, I'm just listening to the whole album.
Swindle just hates lounge music. I think that's really what it boils down to.
It's much better than the ending of the Silent Circus to me because you get like that last 11-minute song. You got 4 minutes.
I fucking
and 4
love
it. Then it just goes fucking nuts. I was sitting in the living room with my girlfriend and that comes on. And I was like, YouTube just switched to the next thing. And I came back in and no, it was just those guys.
I fucking love the end of the Silent Circus. They're just screaming, "I'm a man" over and over again.
God,
oh my.
I hope Austin can find this, and he probably won't or won't put it in there. But there is.
I'm right here, motherfucker.
I know, but there is. It's the ending credits to South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Oh, you're right.
And there's a song in there that just screams, "Now you're a man," just over and over. And that's what the Silent Circus ending made me think of the first time I heard it. But the segue tracks on here do feel like kind of just a breakup of everything in between. Breathe In, Breathe Out works really well for me because it is just like kind of a segue. Medicine Wheel is where it lost me because it's a little long for it to be what it is. It's very much like it kind of felt like something off of The Wall to me.
Yeah.
Just to feel like here's a segue track that is a track, but it really isn't. And I think the reason Laser Speed doesn't really connect with me or maybe Swindle's like when you end an album on something as just potent as that fucking breakdown on that, it's like, how do you let up, Bruce? How do you let up? Like, where do you go from there? And it kind of feels like CDs used to have a reverse track on them on occasion. Like you'd listen to the full track and there'd be a couple seconds at like the end or the beginning of a record that you would have to either somehow rewind the track to get to, or it would play out as the track ended. And that's where Laser Speed felt. It's just a quick little like classical guitar piece. Had very like Randy Rhoads D vibes to it when I heard it.
I don't think any of it's like foreign to, like, it doesn't sound like so drastic. Like,
No.
as far as like the last song, I mean, I kind of felt like there was parts of that and at the end of Primer a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Oh, the Tim Burton part.
Dude. Okay, wait. I did think there was, well,
The Primer has like the carnival shit at the end of it.
The Danny Elfman shit.
But I did think there was almost like a Pee-wee's Playhouse Danny Elfman part in fucking Autodidact with the piano and the...
Oh, I got bungle off of that. Yes,
like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The anxious kind of like section of that. I was like, oh, there's some Danny Elfman bullshit here.
Yep.
What do you think, Bruce?
He's thinking about the old-timey piano that they put on in that Dream Theater song Dylan was talking about earlier.
I still he can't get past it. Yeah.
I actually liked shit. I had the opposite thought as Dylan. I liked Medicine Wheel more than Breathe In, Breathe Out because Medicine Wheel was like full band and it seemed more like a complete piece of music, and Breathe In, Breathe Out is just like kind of delayed guitar. It doesn't sound like a person just jamming with the delay setting on a Line 6 amp, but it doesn't not sound like someone just jamming with the delay setting.
Calling out the first amp a lot of us motherfuckers had right there.
I had one too.
I did too. It was borrowed.
Another thing that they did differently on the remaster, if you listen to the original mix of it, a lot of the songs, like the beginning of Selkies, like hard pans left to right. If you listen to the remaster, it's kind of like tighter. It's made more for like a car stereo or something where might not be as fun.
I just think the album could end at the breakdown and they didn't really need to do they were just having fun being goofy. They thought it was funny.
And I agree because I listened to Colors today for the first time in years, and White Walls essentially ends with this big fucking part that just fades out. Like White Walls, if I remember, it's a 14-minute long song. It's fucking long, but it fades out. And that's, I think what you and I wanted came with that record, like on how that thing ended. But like, I agree. Like, how do you follow up? Like, it would be like ending one differently, right? I know I'm choosing like a big classic song, but like ending one other than just that fucking snare and, guitar machine gun shit. It's like, it kind of would feel like having some weird exit piece after that, right? It's not that it doesn't fit in the scope of what's going on here. I just think based off what the listener is looking at, it could evoke a different feeling. But I think you hit it though, is that they were just having fun in the studio and they're like, oh, here's this little piece I have. Let's put it on there.
So they kind of shored up the lineup for quite a while. So there's not really much news per se after this album is done. They spend about 10 months on tour for this record with some, I guess one thing to note is Dan says like his second, one of his first shows with Between the Buried and Me, the year he started, was New England Metal Fest, and they played with King Diamond. So I guess that's an important thing to note.
I'm sure that was
fucking crazy.
Massive show that's still going on. Like it's a festival. It is still going on to this day.
Yeah, it just happened, I think, like
a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they would spend, like I said, they'd pretty much tour for 10 months after the album came out with a lot of fucking metalcore, deathcore heavy hitters at the time, like The Acacia Strain, Red Chord, Black Dahlia Murder, Into the Moat, Cephalic Carnage, Dillinger, Hella, Every Time I Die, Bleeding Through. They would also tour on the 2006 Ozfest tour I looked at the flyer, and they were the lowest band build on that fucking tour, and it didn't seem like they especially loved it.
They shared a bus with the Red Chord on that tour. And the reason I know that is the Red Chord just posted a video on Instagram talking about the reissue of Clients that's coming out. But they're like, we spent so much time in our early years touring and playing with Between the Buried Me. And they all just got to know each other. So when it came, they got the opportunity to tour, Ozfest together. Like, yeah, absolutely. We're going to bus with these guys. Like it's going to be the best guys to get a bus with. So like, being able to have this camaraderie with two bands that sound completely different, although they come from very similar backgrounds, has to be pretty wild. Like the Ozfest that they played was definitely kind of Ozfest at the peak interest of all the bands that we're collectively into. I would say 04 to probably this year were those years, 04, 05, 06. Bands have played it, such as like Bleeding Through, the Red Chord, Black Dahlia Murder, Full Blown Chaos fucking played it one year. Like, bands that should have never have played Ozfest, bands that weren't selling those type of records, but they did. And I know the logistics behind how these bands had to get on Ozfest. It was a pay-to-play situation. The labels had to pay to get the bands on there, and then the band had to work to pay the label back. And being as technical and as progressive as this band is to play Ozfest had to be something. And I'm sure like Warped Tour did it. I'm sure these guys played it like, goddamn.
What was he into? What did he get? I saw him pick up something with his mouth.
It's a pedal.
Everything. He feels neglected. He wants attention.
But I'm sure they played it some days at like 9 a.m. to just the drunkest motherfuckers possible.
It may have been Dan. One of them said that like they felt completely out of place with all the other bands, and they like the feeling that they had is what caused them to start writing like Ants in the Sky and shit for Colors. They were just like, let's write a fucking 12-minute song and just be like as batshit crazy as we can fucking be.
Fuck them.
I love playing that song on TouchTunes, by the way. It's like 8 different songs in one. Every time,
right.
People think, finally, Garth Brooks is coming back on. No, go to something else.
I don't think Austin was there, but I know Swindle and I were there. There's a trip we all made to the bowling alley many years ago. And Matt, what was the Dream Theater song you played?
Oh, I think I played Octavarium just because of how long it was.
Yes.
And it finally ended. And then right after, somebody else in the bowling alley, not any of us, went up and played a different Dream Theater song right after. I queued it up next.
Dude, oh my God. You guys are just connecting over Dream Theater and pickle spears at the fucking bowling green.
Oh man, it was. I've gone as far as playing like Cannibal Corpse or something in one of those, and it's like that Octavarium just beats it out because isn't Octavarium a single 54-minute long song?
Oh my God,
it's 20.
Okay, close enough.
I think
feels like 50 minutes.
Yeah, I think they have a 50-minute long one, but it's technically broken up when you look at the track listing.
Right. Very Colors-esque.
I mean, what did they do? They like released the covers record.
Sure.
Which I think I remember one of the members saying it was kind of like after doing something like that, it was like, oh, let's just do something fun, like a breath of fresh air type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think they did like they I know they do a Counting Crows cover, just the type.
There's a lot.
That.
Pantera.
Once a year, I have to remind Swindle and Dylan that the Cemetery Gates cover exists.
There's a Pumpkins cover on there. Bicycle. It's Bicycle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I remember we came down for the Thou
Heart.
shows. We came down for the Thou shows, and I think we were playing that before the Nashville one.
King Crimson.
Dylan said, "Kickstart My Heart."
Yeah.
You said.
Yep. The King Crimson song on there. Soundgarden. I think it's Fell on Black Days that they cover. So it's a lot of fun stuff that the band really. I think there's even a the straight edge 90s band that Sean hates.
Earth Crisis.
There's an Earth Crisis cover on there as well. Yes. So like they covered a whole bunch of shit on there.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think doing that covers record necessarily impacted what was to come. I think the turnout and the reception of Alaska and what the band experienced in touring and being kind of still being pigeonholed into this metalcore band and wanting to expand upon that, having new life brought into the band by Dustie, Blake, and Dan joining. And I think it always sat with Paul and Tommy that there was a little bit more that this band could offer. And you get that with their 2007 release Colors, which is still at present time considered their most lauded release. It is the band's classic album. It is a 64-minute long song split into 8 to 9 separate parts. The band still closes, as Matt mentioned, with White Walls on probably every show. Alaska helped that band cement what they wanted to do. I think it was the end of an era for the band. It was the last album that the band did that was purely in that old kind of more aggressive nature that they did. They took the aggressive elements to a different level. I am still divided on Colors. There are points that I can listen to it and I go, I really enjoy this for what it is. But there's also points that I listen to it and I go, the band stopped fully catching my attention with Alaska. And that's not to say that fans of the band of any albums after, because I know Matt's a big fan of The Great Misdirect, which is their 2009 record. That's not to say that any of the albums after it are bad. They lost interest for me. I'll even say this, the 2010 release or 2011 release, the first Parallax, it's an EP, and it's like 30 minutes long. It's fucking great. It's heavy, but it's still 3 songs at 30 minutes long. And it's like, this is fucking wild. And I could never catch that lightning in a bottle with this band ever again. It's not that they're not doing things that are interesting. It's just not interesting to me as much anymore.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on that? Like, obviously with Colors being the big one, Swindle, Matt, like, where do you think Alaska kind of holds itself legacy wise for this band? Like,
I got into the band for the Silent Circus, and that would probably always be like the album that I go back to and listen to, just because it was like the first one. I think Alaska is like front to back is way better all the way through. There's like not really that many, there's not really a part of the album that like falls off or like is not as good as the rest of it. I think Alaska is like probably for me the peak of their like aggressive meets. Like it's like if the aggression and technicality are like on different lines, like Alaska is where they meet, is the most technical and most aggressive they are at the same time. But there are still a lot of people like in their interviews for like even the most recent record, there are people that are like, yeah, a lot of our fans just got into us like for Colors. That's when they started listening to us. And I was when I read that, I was like, damn, that makes me feel old because because like that's kind of when I stopped listening to that.
And I agree with Swindle. This is my favorite Between the Buried and Me release, and it is the one I will go back to. I will definitely listen to Silent Circus a lot, almost as much as this record. I need to go back and listen to the first record again. It's been quite some time, but Colors is such a daunting task for me because it was just, when that album released, it was just everywhere that you went. It's long. It's a very, very progressive leaning record. There is stuff on there that is everything that is on this record that has the different sounds and different stylistic choices. All of that is on one track, essentially, with Colors, and the backing behind Colors and the touring behind Colors was massive. And I even think it wore the band out a little bit. I saw them open for Mastodon a couple years later, and like the band was, you could tell they were having a night. And like nothing was off. The band's never off. It's just, you could tell it was just really wearing. And Yeah, I agree with Swindle wholeheartedly on this. I think it's the best blending of the tech and the progressive stuff, and the aggressive style was still at the forefront of the band's kind of repertoire and whatever was in its utility belt going on at this time.
I think it's probably the best representation of that era of the band. I think after Parallax 1 EP, the band just seems completely different to me. Don't have to get into it too much because I get in trouble if I talk about it and people yell at me on Instagram. But Parallax 2 onwards was very different. And everybody in that band is immensely talented. But the songs that they made from then on were a totally different beast and for a different fan base. I love listening to Colors all the way through, but I'll sit and listen to 2112 all the way through, or shoot, I should say that properly, huh? 2112 all the way through. Don't yell at me. Best representation, Selkies is a great representation of the band.
I think this record is probably like the best like record in this genre in this time. Like I can't for my money think of a better, like just in general, like a more talented metalcore band than Between the Buried and Alaska Between the Buried and Me. Like I don't think anyone was doing this style of music better than this album, to be honest.
I agree. Because again, we look back at what metalcore was during that period, and there's so much shit that was underneath that. Like now you look at metalcore and it's very much like, here's what it is. Back then, metalcore, just wide spectrum, right? Bands that I mentioned earlier in the episode, but yeah, I agree. Even the bands that they toured with would go on to say like, yeah, that's the band to watch. Like that's the band to definitely watch. They were weird. They were crazy. They were young. They were throwing shit at the wall to see if it would stick, and it definitely stuck, and it worked really well. And I mean, they wrote a really great record. And they proved that they could get even more grandiose with it, with just some of the sounds that they got on this record.
All right, we've reached that point of the episode where we like to recommend some things we've been listening to, things we think you should check out. I got two. One, not heavy at all, but some great songwriting. The new Tony Molina record that's coming out on November, I think it's like November 14th. I could be wrong there, but on this day, gonna be a new record. Slumberland Records, as well as Tony's new label, Old Fade Records. We got 3 new singles, 21 songs total. Tony Molina is kind of known for writing like very like short, like 1 to 2 minute songs, but they're like hyper. Like I would say it's like a combination of like Emmett Rhodes and Laurel Canyon, and then like Randy Rhodes kind of like instrumental, like acoustic, like D, or some of the stuff that, the neoclassical things. I love it. I think it's super catchy. It's super fun to listen to. Yeah, I check out any of his old records. Check out Ovens, which was a band that he was involved with. It's kind of like a Bay Area based musician, but he's like, I think he maybe got into like, it's so funny to hear him play this stuff because he's also like heavily involved in like underground, like metal and hardcore, like bunch of like power violence and hardcore bands. And then he just writes like, just acoustic melodic tracks. So
he's like the Mountain Goats.
What's that?
He's like the Mountain Goats. He's like,
yeah,
that one guy's like a huge death metal fan. He's like, hey, I play in the Mountain Goats.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Darnielle.
Yeah.
I think there is I can't remember, somebody can comment, but there's like a metal guitarist in a like well-known death metal band that may have played in one of his live iterations of his live act too. So like, check it out. Definitely a fun time there. Kind of also in the teetering on like acoustic and heavy. I had recommended the Hayden Pedigo Chat Pile collaboration that's going to be coming out. They just released a new single called Demon Time. That's going to be featured on In the Earth Again. The second single. It kind of reminds me like if the Doors did noise rock. Like it's very sparse and kind of spacey. And I feel like the vocalist of Chat Pile kind of has that like meandering Jim Morrison thing going on. And then the bass is like fuzzy as shit. It's like bleak, but then Hayden Pedigo has like all these like great finger picked, guitar arrangements on it. That's going to be out on Halloween of this year through the Flenser. You can listen to the other track as well, Radioactive Dreams. That's out now.
I'm gonna recommend a band name that I never thought I would say on this podcast. I'm gonna recommend the new Algernon Cadwallader record, Trying Not to Have a Thought. It came out September 12th through Saddle Creek Records. I was into this band their first go around when they were Twinkle Daddies, when they were in the Midwest emo revival. I saw them here in Louisville at Skull Alley with a band named Native. I've got the records. This new record sounds like the old shit. It's very twinkly. It sounds fun. The music sounds fun. They have their original drummer and they have a second guitarist, like their original lineup. But then like halfway through the record, Pete just starts hitting politics real fucking hard. And he talks about shit like the move bombing of Philadelphia in the 80s, 1986 or whenever it was, 85. And then he talks about fucking anti-homeless architecture that capitalists spend money on just to make it unsafe for homeless people to sleep under an underpass. Which you're not really expecting. Comes out of fucking nowhere, but it's a very enjoyable album in the landscape of American punk rock.
Yeah, it's a great record. And, obviously, like the political stuff is really fucking awesome that it's included. I just think the guitar work is like that. Seeing that band live for the first time, like a couple years ago, there's like maybe no better guitar. Like they're crazy. It's awesome.
When I saw him at Skull, the first time I saw him, they just had Joe.
Yeah.
He was the only guitarist. And like me and Wyatt were just like.
So I got two. First one is a new release from the band Dead and Dripping, which is we posted a couple days ago at present time, but their new release Bestial Possession, which will be coming out on Transcending Obscurity Records on November 28th of this year. This is a crazy, weird, technical, gross sounding band for bands of like Demilich and all of that shit. But their track, Horrifying Glimpses of Inconceivably Demented Cityscapes, is the new single from the record. And I love how long that title is. That is a throwback to the band Demilich, of course. This shit is gross and gnarly sounding and just a lot of fun. Second one for me is keeping with the North Carolina and the Carolina tie-in. We're going with COC's Deliverance. What a fucking record. This comes off the back of watching the Riff Lords episode of Gibson TV for one and only Pepper James Keenan. Great record. It's got Albatross. It's got Clean My Wounds. I think COC is definitely more praised for its hardcore and punk rock backgrounds, but to ever not listen to the sludged out stoner classic rock era with Pepper Keenan is just doing the band a disservice. Like, if you're a fan of his playing and down, go listen to any of the COC stuff that he's done and start with Deliverance and move forward.
And also, Gibson, you'll be hearing from our lawyers with that showtime.
Be fucking careful.
Our lawyers. It's just me in a suit. The one suit I own.
I live the closest to all three of us.
You'll be hearing from our lawyer, Lionel Hutz.
Special guest, Matt Graham. What have you been listening to as of late?
I picked up the new Wednesday release from Griney's on Saturday. I didn't know if I was going to buy it. I thought I would listen to it first, but I was there. I had Mudvayne DVD in my hand, so I felt like I had to buy something a little more highbrow. So grabbed that. The single I heard was more alt country. So when I first got into the band, it was the shoegazy slide guitar stuff on Twin Plagues 2021, and I was worried that era of the band was gone. It's not. Starts out great, has riffs. It's a good mix of shoegazy alt country with riffs, which is a weird thing to say.
They got that punk track. They got that punk joint in there.
Mm-hmm. And as far as old music goes, Dan Briggs has another side project that I listen to every once in a while with Ashley from Abigail Williams called ORBS.
I remember
They
that.
have like
yeah.
one internet band album. If you like the goofy side of Between the Buried and Me, like you want to listen to something goofy, prog rock, give ORBS a Sleep Like Next to Science a listen.
Oh yeah,
Something we're known for. Us on the show, we're known for goofy prog rock.
Well, check it out. It's all linked below. You can find it in the description. You can also find our playlist on Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Music. Hits from the Crypt, rips on repeat. You can follow us at Riff Worship Pod, Instagram and Twitter. Email us at riffworshippod@gmail.com. Matt Graham, thank you so much for joining us. Bruce, thank you for joining us. It was really fun to chat and nerd out about this nerdy band. They're nerds.
They are.
Yeah. They are.
We'll be back next week, maybe with an interview. We'll see. I don't know. But for myself, for Swindle, for Dylan, for Matt Graham, for Bruce, you've been listening to Riff Worship. We'll see you next time with something else. Bye.
Bye.